Hey, Bodacious Beast, welcome back to my channel. My name is ScottyAllenDay. Sorry about the short intro that I had on there. There's just so much that I'm going to be talking about today. I've got a lot of notes in this guy. This is going to be a lengthy video. It's going to be a long video. Just basically kick back, turn it on, enjoy. This story is really not complete, but I wanted to get it out today. This is a music icon, and well, let's just deep dive into this. So this guy was an orphan Holocaust survivor. He created the foundation of traveling shows that made them into the massive venues they were today. Decades after he leaves the earth, the same principles and standards are still creating the live experiences that keep music fans screaming for more. I want to call this person the architect of arena rock, or live shows, if you may. Today's music icon is not necessarily a musician. However, he is a music lover. He was a promoter, and of course, you gotta say, an architect or an engineer, or just an overall great manager with an attitude. This person I'm talking about is Bill Graham. Not the Billy Graham, the pastor. Bill Graham, the promoter. Bill started off as a promoter, and he was hired by Charles Sullivan. However, the facts are mixed as to who owned the Fillmore East first. However, history states that Bill Graham had a problem getting permits to operate a music venue, and Charles Sullivan had the permits. When Charles Sullivan passed on, Bill Graham bought the building, gained the rights to the permits until his permits finally came through. And I'm going to do a little bit more research into this topic at a later date. Hooray for notes, right? So today, Bill started booking, mime troops, musical acts, vaudeville during this period. During the period of him and Charles Sullivan interacting with each other. So this is just getting started. So after Mr. Sullivan passed, well, actually he was basically assassinated. Bill bought the Fillmore East, and bought the Fillmore West, but the Fillmore East, we don't know who still owned it at that time. And the more that I've researched with this, Charles Sullivan owned it, Bill Graham owned it, but I gotta go and dig into the historical archives, probably try and get it through the city of San Francisco, and then try and find out who owned the building first, and then I can make the story more solid. Where am I at? So after Mr. Sullivan's passing, Bill bought the Fillmore West in New York and started booking double-billed shows featuring Jefferson Airplane, Grateful Dead, Steve Miller Band. And at that time, the Fillmore theaters became the home base for acid rock, or you want to call it psychedelic rock, depending on how you see that type of rock in that period. After that, Bill Graham hired a electrical and sound engineer or to design, or should I say, invent the concert and lighting system that could be used for lighting, fog, and to project photographs and images, as well as other effects on stage as the bands are performing. And this person's name was Danny Williams. Very bright, very intelligent individual. Where am I at? So most of the wiring and generic standards are still being used at the foundation of many traveling and residential concerts. Graham helped organize the first arena rock concert in '68 that featured Cream and Deep Purple. At that time, I believe Deep Purple was going on a final tour, and at Madison Square Garden in New York. Now, let's back up just a little bit to the sound and lighting stages. So basically what he did was he created the cams. And it was like like two wires, and then you had this big bulge rubber thing. And all you do is you put them together, and then you twist lock the cams, and then it creates the solid connection. And then you can just disconnect and then take them apart. So in other words, you don't have to hardwire everything. So if you had it's kind of like you know, something like this where you got to plug into a computer and then you can be able to put your SD card on. That's pretty much the way it was. So if a light blew, I could just disconnect it and then fix the light off stage. But then I could take another light and then I could be able to reconnect it, and it only takes a few seconds. But there was another engineer that also perfected that system. So, okay, so another thing that I found out was Graham refused to become involved in Woodstock in 1969. But, I mean, for what reasons, I have no clue. He ultimately introduced himself to the giant concert production as in another context. England's Rolling Stones were planning a tour in the United States. Graham knew he wanted to be their California promoter, and he did not attempt to present them in either of his auditoriums. That's the Fillmore East and the Fillmore West. Rather, he arranged his first stadium production, a format that is still quite rare at the time, at the Oakland Coliseum, outside of San Francisco. The shows were a success. 2 sell-out crowds at 15,000 people each. Now, he helped with the Cream and the Deep Purple, but this one he actually put the whole thing together. It wasn't until 1972, when the Stones came back to the United States, they hired Bill Graham full-time. And around 1972, Bill Graham then hired Chris McDonald, another sound and lighting engineer, to further enhance the Arena Rock setups, to be more portable and again to be re-engineered under Bill to create a larger venue. And then between 1968 to 1972, Mr. Graham also invented the ticketing system, which involved the concert posters that you see on telephone poles, the large posters that you would see on a construction site where the plywood is covering the hole, and it gave all the information to where the tickets were going to be sold, and the tickets were normally sold at head shops. So basically, Bill would come and take a whole stack of tickets, take them down to the head shops and say, okay, sell these. And they got a percentage of it, and then Bill got the rest of it, and then he paid the band. So that's pretty much created the tickets for concerts. Instead of coming up to the door and paying, and then having a mile-long line, well, it happened. And then this is when Arena Rock started becoming incredibly bigger, because then all of a sudden the bands are seeing that, wait a minute, the Stones had 2 15,000 sellout concerts. Now you can go to the Fillmore East and the Fillmore West that has 1,000, 2,000, 500 people. And I've got to work all week long, 2 shows a day, and I can't even get to half of that. So I can go and I can book 2 shows, one on Saturday, one on Sunday, have 30,000 people in my attendance, and I only have to do 2 shows. So it exploded. So the tickets were distributed to head shops around the cities and to sell for concerts. This system later became Ticketmaster in 1976. So Ticketmaster, I guess I have to do a little bit more research on the Ticketmaster part. I didn't want to go too much off key. I just wanted to talk about the seeds that Bill Graham planted during his time as a promoter. Bill Graham's greatest concert was in 1985, which featured Live Aid. He also promoted Bob Dylan. He promoted Jimi Hendrix. Just about almost any band in the 70s he promoted. In 1991, on his way back to California, his California home, from a Huey Lewis and the News concert, his helicopter crashed. Another story from the day the music died. It's not part of the song, but, you know, I'll talk a little bit about this once I finish this, and it's starting to make a little bit more sense now. So this was devastating to the music community, and his work put music on the map. Traveling shows, massive concerts, country concerts, rock concerts. It put it on the map for generations to come, and it still will. It'll live on for forever until people want to stop doing massive shows and just want to simulcast them. I guess. I don't know. His funeral procession featured 11 stretch limousines and mourners that stretched for miles in San Francisco as thousands of people, musicians, and celebrities come to pay their respects. Now, in 1991, after Bill Graham had perished, was at about the same time that MTV and VH1 started taking over. And then MTV went into acoustics about 91, I would say, yeah, about 91, 92, we think about 93 was when they started trying to push percussions. But basically said, hey, rock musicians, why don't we become country for a day, for a year, and unplug. Now, if Bill Graham was alive, he would have never let that happen. I don't even know if he was involved with MTV or VH1. So, after Bill Graham passed, rock and roll, that was way up here. I mean, the country was kind of right about in the middle. And after Bill Graham went, rock and roll started going down. So, one of the greatest promoters alive at that time, promoting the biggest concerts ever, passed. I wanted to get a video out today, but I wanted to see if he actually made Ozfest, if he made Monsters of Rock concerts. How much more work did he do on this? Well, I have my notes, so at a later date I'll be able to update this and hopefully make an even bigger story. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video today. If you like it, please give me a thumbs up, share the video with your friends. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you don't miss another video. And as always, keep on rocking.